The gravel mocked me. A plain little gray stone, slightly oval, nothing special, except it measured 0.83 inches wide. Just over the HOA's legal limit by 0.08 inches. According to Meadowview Heights bylaws, that made it an outlaw. So there I was, kneeling in my driveway on a crisp Tuesday morning, digital calipers in hand like a forensic tech at a crime scene. A half-empty can of compressed air sat beside me, useless against the ridiculousness of it all. Welcome to retirement. It all started with a smug, cream-colored envelope tucked under my windshield wiper, bearing the self-important crest of the Homeowners Association. Inside, a citation for violating Bylaw 6, subsection D, paragraph 4, excessive driveway debris. Fine. $150. Excessive debris? It sounded like something made up by someone with a personal grudge and a thesaurus. And I knew exactly who that someone was. I'm Nathan Brooks. 50 years old, newly retired after selling my cybersecurity business. The sale didn't land me a yacht, but it guaranteed I'd never open Excel again. My wife Sarah, worried I'd go insane tinkering with smart home settings, suggested I get a hobby. So I bought 12 acres just outside Meadowview Heights, land no one else wanted because a rusty, abandoned freight rail line cut through it. To me, that old rail was the dream. A personal escape track made of steel and silence. But silence wasn't going to happen. Meadowview Heights had an HOA, and the HOA had Marjorie Vance. She ruled the neighborhood like a monarch, her platinum blonde bob as sharp and controlled as her policies. Right on cue, her silver BMW X5 slid up to the edge of my driveway. The window lowered slowly, revealing her eternally displeased expression. "Trouble, Nathan?" she said, sugar in her voice, poison in her smile. I stood, brushing off my jeans and holding up my calipers. "Just rooting out dangerous criminals, Marjorie," I said, gesturing to the pebble. "Thinking about turning this one over to federal agents." Her lips thinned to a single angry line. "The fine triples in 72 hours, she warned. "And I'll need a completely clean driveway to sign off." I leaned on the mailbox. "You got an official gravel gauge for your inspection? Or just winging it again?" Her eyes narrowed. This wasn't our first battle. There was the mailbox fiasco of 2023, when she deemed my navy blue box too nautical. The flower bed incident, where she accused me of floral excess. Our feud was legend. She glanced over my shoulder, squinting toward the back of my property. "What is that?" she asked, voice like a hiss. 200 yards away, on a fresh slab of concrete, sat a hulking shape beneath a heavy tarp. "It's a project," I said vaguely. "It's enormous," she snapped. "It better not be a trailer. Section 8 strictly prohibits mobile dwellings." I grinned. "Not a trailer, Marjorie. Quite the opposite. It's far less mobile." The next morning, the real fun began. A parade of Chevy Silverados pulled into my drive, followed by a flatbed hauling a compact excavator. Out stepped Vince, the best contractor in the county. He was built like a barn and had the dry wit of a man who'd seen it all. His crew of 3 looked equally tough. "So, where's the mystery machine?" Vince asked, chewing an unlit cigar. I led them to the concrete pad. The team eyed the tarp-covered mass with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "You said half a mile of track from this pad to the old line," Vince said. "So what are we building? A museum?" "Nope," I said. "A hobby." I grabbed a corner of the tarp. "Give me a hand." We yanked it off. Beneath lay a fully restored 1957 Baldwin AS616 diesel locomotive, 130 tons of raw, unapologetic American steel. It had taken me 3 years and more money than I care to admit. Painted in Union Pacific's yellow and red, it gleamed like a monument. Vince's cigar fell from his mouth. "Jesus, Nathan," he muttered. "My kid's got a toy version of this thing. You've got the real deal." "She told me to find a hobby," I said, patting the iron coupler. "So I found one. I call her the Liberatory. Escape from HO hell." Vince roared with laughter. "Escape's right. This thing's gonna eat your retirement fund alive." But his crew got it. They saw the craftsmanship, the power, the beauty. Work began that same afternoon. The clang of tools and the hum of machines was music to my ears. Marjorie returned within hours, drawn like a vulture. Her BMW crunched over the gravel as she climbed out, phone in one hand, clipboard in the other. "This noise is unacceptable," she yelled over the din. Vince killed the generator and ambled over. "Yes, ma'am. I'm the HOA president," she declared like she expected him to salute. "You're violating community noise restrictions." Vince shrugged. "County says construction's allowed Monday to Saturday, 7 to 8. We're good." Her face twitched. Then she pointed to a damp patch under his truck. "That leak is a violation of environmental codes." Vince crouched, touched the spot and held up a finger. "AC condensation, ma'am. It's 95 degrees. She turned red with rage. "This entire project is a blight." Vince didn't even blink. "We've got permits. You can call the county." He fired the generator back up. Her protests were swallowed by the rumble. Marjorie didn't quit. Oh no. She retaliated with surgical pettiness. She called the county. An inspector came, reviewed my papers, nodded at the track and left saying, "Just keep the noise reasonable. She's been blowing up our phones." She snapped photos of Vince's rented portable toilet, claiming it was a permanent structure. My lawyer replied with the 10-day rental agreement and a suggestion she take up knitting. Her piece de resistance? Daily printouts of HOA bylaws taped to Vince's bulldozer, citing obscure rules about unauthorized dirt displacement. Vince kept them, said they'd make good kindling. But what really got to her was the crossing. My driveway intersected with the track, and from her second-floor window, she could see everything. She called it an eyesore. I called it the crown jewel. One early morning, Vince and I were studying blueprints, coffee in hand. "She's gonna flip when those crossing signals go up," he said, grinning. He wasn't wrong. The best was yet to come. That's why I went for the deluxe setup. Extra loud bells, piercing LEDs. "Just taking safety seriously," I told Vince when he smirked. "You're wicked," he said. "Nope," I corrected. "Just a responsible enthusiast." By the time the track was complete, the crossing looked like something out of a railroad museum. Bright red gates, warning signs, and bells that echoed all the way to Marjorie's kitchen window. I didn't just inform her. I had Ethan, my attorney, draft an airtight notice, formally delivered and signed for. It warned of a scheduled low-speed train test at 2 p.m. Saturday, on private property with active signals. Marjorie's angry scrawl on the return receipt was as good as a trophy. Saturday arrived, thick with tension. At 1 p.m. I climbed into the cab of the Liberator. A beast of diesel and iron. Battery on. Fuel pump primed. Throttle ready. The 16-cylinder engine roared to life, shaking the ground with 1,800 horsepower. My phone buzzed. A message from Marjorie. "Your little letter is a joke. That thing's going to get the cops called. And you don't have commercial insurance." "It's a private hobby. Insured for more than your house," I replied. "Keep the crossing clear at 2 p.m. No response. Just silence. I radioed Vince, my lookout. "Any sign of resistance?" "Her BMW's shining like a mirror," he crackled. "Parked square on the rails. Front wheels lined up perfect." "She's playing games," I muttered. "That ain't weather rolling in," Vince added. "Nope," I said. "That's fate." At 1:57 p.m., I gently advanced the throttle. The locomotive groaned into motion, wheels clicking steadily. The track curved past the trees and brought the crossing into view. There it was. Her silver BMW sat dead center, perfectly aligned, a final act of defiance. Marjorie stood far off on her porch, arms folded, phone in hand, smirking like she'd already won. She assumed I'd stop or look insane. She hadn't expected a third option. I stopped the train 100 feet from her car. The air horn let out a deep rolling bellow that shook the neighborhood. Birds scattered. Windows rattled. Still she didn't move. I dialed her. She answered, shrieking. "You're harassing me. I'm on the phone with 911. Move your car in 60 seconds, I said evenly, "or I will." "It's my driveway," she snapped. "No," I said. "My land. My track. Certified notice. You signed it. 30 seconds. She laughed, dry and venomous. "You wouldn't dare. I'll bury you in court. 15 seconds. Burn in hell," she screamed and hung up. I stared at her BMW, that polished emblem of her pettiness. Vince gave a nod from the edge of the property. Everything was legal. Everything documented. No anger, no impulse. Just inevitability. I eased the throttle. The Liberator surged forward slowly but surely. At 30 feet, I saw my reflection in the BMW's door. At 20, the car's alarm blared. At 10, the train's coupler loomed high above the driver's seat. Contact. Not cinematic, just deliberate. A metallic ping, a shiver of glass, then the agonizing grind of steel meeting car frame. The train shoved the BMW 50 feet down the track, its rear folding like tinfoil around the signal post. I let the engine idle, silence settling once more, except for Marjorie's angry screams from afar. The sheriff arrived 7 minutes later, lights flashing. Marjorie ran to him, wild-eyed and ranting. He tried to kill me. Arrest him. I descended calmly, binder in hand. Deputy Harris, a weary-looking man, approached. Mind explaining? He asked, eyes on the mangled BMW. I handed him everything. Land title, train permits, HOA letter with Marjorie's signature, and video footage from the locomotive's onboard camera. She ignored a legal notice, blocked an active track, and created a hazard, I said plainly. He watched the footage, my horn, the countdown, the impact. He exhaled slowly and walked over to Marjorie. Her bluster faded to panic as he spoke to her. It's his land. His notice. His right, he told her. This is a civil matter. No charges. But maybe let's not repeat this. Only if she parks there again, I said with a smile. Word spread fast. Meadowview Heights suddenly knew my name. The oddball with the train became a local legend. Neighbors who once avoided eye contact now gave me knowing nods. Mr. Callahan even saluted me one morning. Marjorie's power, built on fines, threats, and made-up rules, collapsed. The next HOA meeting was chaos. Packed room. She tried to spin a story, paint herself the victim, tears and all. But I had the video. I played it on the projector. Her car. Her refusal. Her voice shrieking. The crowd gasped. One neighbor called for a vote of no confidence. Pass 52-1. Marjorie's lone hand stayed up, shaking. She moved out within the month. A sweet couple moved in, loved the train. The new HOA president reversed the mess of bylaws and even issued a formal apology. Vince and his guys built me a little station platform, complete with a Meadowview Heights sign. I threw a barbecue there a few weeks later. Kids took turns riding in the cab at walking speed. Neighbors laughed. Vince grilled. Felt like a real community for once. I stood at the edge of the platform, beer in hand, watching the train idle on polished rails. The driveway was clear. The air was calm. Marjorie's reign had ended. Not in fury, but in iron and resolve. Sometimes the only thing that stops a tyrant is 130 tons of steel.